Good day to all our viewers all over the world. My name is C.G Chiwenga. I'm called to be an apostle by the grace of God who preaches the gospel of Jesus Christ. Today's date is 23 October 2018. I'm going to be making a public statement concerning the public utterances that have been made by our Vice President, Comrade Constantino Gouveia Nyikadzino Chiwenga, concerning me. I wish to make the record straight and to share with you the experiences that I've had for the past 2 to 3 days. Today is Tuesday. 4 days ago on Saturday, if my memory serves me well, Saturday was 20 October 2018. I drove to Wedza, to the Chiwenga villages. That is my rural home. My intention for going home was to see my brother who was not feeling well. His name is Onesimo Chiwenga. He is a cousin brother of mine in that his father is a brother to my father. I was also going to Wedza to pick up my auntie, who is my father's sister, so that she can go through a medical checkup because of a diabetes problem. My auntie lives in the area which we call Jekwa, the Gumbonjanda area, which is around 20 kilometers before our own village. So when I'm driving from Harare, I have to pass through Gumbonjanda before I go to Chiwenga villages. I decided to go first to my auntie's place so that I could inform her of my intentions to pick her up so that I can bring her to Harare for a medical checkup and also so that we can spend quality time with my family. I went to my auntie's place. The name of my auntie is my Machekanyanga. We call her Auntie Grace because that is her name. After I spoke to my auntie, I went there with my sister in the Lord. So after arriving at my auntie's place, I spoke to her. I told her that I'd come to pick her up, and I also told her that I wish to proceed to the Chiwenga homesteads so that I could see my brothers and my relatives there and also see how my sick brother was doing, Onesimo Chiwenga. My auntie was supposed to prepare for our journey while I go to see my elder brothers. She also indicated to me that she wanted me to inform my elder brothers that I was picking her up so that they would know that the auntie is no longer in her village. She is now in town, in Harare. If they need her for any family functions, they would know where to find her. I thought that was a good idea to tell my elder brothers that I'm taking Auntie Maima Chekanyanga back with me to Harare. After exchanging some pleasantries with my auntie, her husband, our Mkuwasha Machekanyanga, and our nephews and cousins who were in the house, I then, with my sister in the Lord, decided to drive down, further down, in the Wedza district to the Chiwenga villages so that I could do the former. I drove and I came to my brother's house, my brother's homestead, Onesimo Chiwenga's house, and I found out that he was not there. His young nephew who was there told me that grandfather, it was actually his grandson, a son to one of his daughters. He was around 9 to 10 years old. He told me that Sekuru, grandfather, is not here. Where is he? The young boy indicated that there was going to be a function at our uncle's place of residence. And this uncle I'm talking about, my uncle in the sense that he is my father's elder brother. He's late now. We call him Mdara Makarichi. He is the father to the vice president. So I know where my uncle used to live. I know his house. I have been there. I stayed with him while he was alive for a number of days. We were very good. We were very close. I was close to him. So I knew where to go to look for my elder brother, Onesimo Chiwenga, who happens to be the elder brother to Vice President Chiwenga. My elder brother has been hospitalized more than twice in a space of about a year. Some few months ago, he was hospitalized in the private hospital that is around the Dandaro village, along Borodeo Road. I went there to see him countless times. So I was not around. I was in South Africa. I decided to check up on him, how he was doing. I went to my uncle's place only to find out that there was heavy presence of the military. The presidential guards were there mounting their guards with their AK-47s, their rifles and their guns by the gate of the homestead of my uncle, and I saw some intelligence personnel in plain clothes, civilian clothes, that were manning the house. And on the other side of the road, which was my uncle's fields, I saw the Nyaradzo people pitching some tents there. They had already pitched a bigger tent when I arrived there. So I parked my car. I walked into the yard, into the house of my uncle, and I came to a certain tree that is in the center of the house, in the center of the home, the stand, the yard. I saw some 3 gentlemen who I perceived they were senior military personnel who were maybe preparing for the events that were going to be conducted in those tents that were being pitched. I indicated that I wanted to see my elder brother. I identified myself as Talent Chiwenga. I said, I want to see my elder brother, Onesimo. They said, oh, you are looking for Bamkuru. Who are you? I said I was his younger brother, and I wanted to see him. They said I should go into the house to check on the guards that were in the house, or there's people in the kitchen to find out if they've seen him. They said he was here a few moments ago. I went into the house, the main house. The officers who were in the kitchen, they said to me, he has gone out. They don't really where he has gone. They are the ones who said, why don't you call him? And I said, I don't have signal on my phone. They said, go uphill, because my uncle's house is just on the foot of a hill. Go up, you'll find a rock, and there you pick up a signal on your phone. I did that. When I went up the house, on the rocks that were above the house, there was a small gazebo there, and there were also soldiers mounting guards with their weapons. This is not an unusual situation. We know that our cousin brother, the vice president, is a government official, and therefore it is needful for him to have security. So I spoke to the soldiers. I wanted to pick up a signal on my phone to call my elder brother. They said, go up on that rock, you pick up a signal. I did pick up a signal. And after picking up the signal, I tried to call my elder brother's number. I couldn't get hold of him. I think he had no reception on his cell phone. I came down from that hilly area to the house. I saw those 3 gentlemen who were wearing plain clothes seated under a tree that was in the midst of the house, in the midst of the yard, in my uncle's place of residence. I told them that I failed to get hold of him on his phone, and therefore I was going. I also told them that I was also looking for my elder brother. Again, his name is Joseph, and I couldn't get hold of him. The people that were at his house had said he has gone to attend a meeting at Chigondo, and is coming back probably by the end of the day. So I said to them, I wanted to tell them that I'm coming to pick up Tete to go with her to Harare, and I also wanted to check on my brother's health. But I was rushing back to Harare because I was supposed to address a church. I was supposed to preach via teleconference to our church that is in the UK at 2:30. So they said, it's fine, you can go. I exited the house through the gates, and I went into my car. As I started to drive off, they whistled that I should stop. And when I stopped and looked back, they said, you should come back. I drove back, I reversed my car, and I parked it correctly ahead of an army truck that was parked by the side of the fence. And I got out of the car, and several men, around 7 of them, they approached me. I saw them whispering to one another as they came to speak to me. When they came to me, they then said to me, we didn't know you. Are you the famous Apostle T.F. Chiwenga? I said, I don't know about famous, but it is true. I am Apostle T.F. Chiwenga. So after saying so, they then started to, they put me in the center of a circle. They started to ask me questions, and they started to say, did you know that the Vice President is here? And why are you here? What is your mission for coming here? I told them about my mission. I told them that I was not aware that the Vice President was there. Do you know about the function we are going to hold tomorrow? I said, I don't know about the function. The reason why I came to my uncle's place of residence, my late uncle's place of residence, I was looking for Brother Onesimo Chiwenga to see how he was doing with his health and to inform him that I was taking Auntie Grace, my Masheka Nyanga, with me back to Harare. So they started to interrogate me, they started to question me, they started to say a lot of things. They indicated to me that the Vice President was very angry at me on account of the messages that I preached. That interrogation lasted for around an hour. When this happened, it was around 25 minutes to 1 afternoon. But it lasted for around an hour. After 30 minutes of that interrogation, I saw one of my cousin brothers again. His name is Masimba Chiwenga. He works at one commando barracks there along Airport Road. So he came, and the intelligence officers and the army officers asked him, they said, Masimba, do you know this man? And Masimba said, how can you say, do I know this man? How can I not know my young brother? He is my young brother. And they said, this is the man who is causing a lot of anger and bitterness to the Vice President because of what he preaches. And my brother said, this is the reason why I'm here. I was in the house. One of your officers came to Vice President Chiwenga and told him that Talent is here. So he has asked me to go and speak to him and find out if he has wronged him in any way that he speaks so badly about him. In Shona, my brother Masimba said, Vice President, vaudzwa nema intelligence officers kuti Talent asvika vakabva vati enda unotaura naye Masimba gadzirisana nemunina wako mubvunze kuti pane chandakamutadzira here. So when Masimba said that, the officers then said, we didn't know that Apostle T.F. Chiwenga is actually related to Vice President Chiwenga. If you had not indicated that he is one of the family members, we could have done something very bad on him. If since you have indicated that he is your young brother, you can speak to him. So Masimba spoke to me. He started to ask me questions about a certain video in which I was saying the Vice President is not even fit to be a village head. He is not fit to lead this country. He said he wanted to know if I did make those statements. I said to him, I cannot comment on a video that you found on the social network platforms, on social media. If you don't show me the video, there are so many videos and so many text messages that are circulating in our communities, purportedly written or created by Apostle T.F. Chiwenga, but many of them are not true. Many of them are doctored to say something that is contrary to what I have actually said. If you have got that video, I want to see it so that I can give you a response. I said to him, when I preach what God says to me. And I know there are consequences that I'm going to face on account of that message of Christ. So if you show me that video and it comes out that I am the one who did that video, then I will not lie that I'm not the one who did that video. I will tell you that I have done that video. If there are consequences that I'm supposed to face on account of what I say as I preach, I am willing to face those consequences. One of the men that were there, whose identity was not revealed to me, he was just known as Sergeant. He then came and said, well, Masimba, wait for a few minutes. We want our intelligence officers to ask him a few questions in that car. So go. There were 3 men. One of them was wearing a green shirt. He was a tall man. They indicated that I was supposed to go to a Mazda BT50, which was gray in color, which did not have number plates on it, so that those men could ask me questions. They indicated to me that I was not supposed to go anywhere until they are done with me, until they decide if and when they would want to release me to go home. So I didn't comply with them because I wanted to answer their questions, but I was threatened that if I don't cooperate, I may not even know the bad things, how many bad things were going to happen to me. So I tried to hand over my mobile phones to the sister that I traveled to my row home with. The sergeant said, no, you can't do that. Go with your phones. So I went to that gray Mazda BT50. They said, go into the car. I said, no, I will not go into the car. If you want to ask me questions, I'll be standing beside the car and you'll be seated in that car and I'll answer your questions. The reason why I refused to enter into that car, I didn't know what their intentions were. What if they decided to drive away with me? I was going to put the life of the sister that I traveled with in danger, and I was going to also go into harm's way. So I decided to answer their questions while I was outside that car. They asked me questions, very personal questions, and for some moments I was quiet. I didn't want to answer them because they wanted me to tell them all the personal details that I have: my name, my mobile contact details, my wife's national ID, my residential address, the names of my children, the addresses of our church, where else we do our services. They even wanted me to furnish them with details regarding the cars that I have and the registration numbers of my cars, and I didn't give them. They asked me questions concerning all these personal issues, and because I knew that I was not talking freely, I was under duress, I was forced, I was kidnapped in my own house, in my own homestead, by those military men who were instructed by Vice President Chiwenga to do so. So they said, you are not going anywhere until you are satisfied that we have done what we are intending to do with you. So you have to finish us, you have to tell us all these details. So I could not lie to them because lying is not in me. I told them where I stay. I gave them my mobile contact details. I told them about my wife, about my children. So one of the officers asked me questions like, are you a politician? I said, I'm not a politician, I'm a preacher. And after about an hour, they said in their questions, in their interrogations, they asked me questions like, do you hate your brother? I said, I don't hate the vice president. How do you expect me to hate him? He has not wronged me in any way. They asked me questions like, do you know that the vice president is sick? And why have you come to see his elder brother, Onesimo? Why don't you go to see him because he's not feeling well? And I told them that I knew that he was sick, receiving treatment from South Africa, and that he had just come back. So I intended to go and see him, how he was doing. But my mission for going to Wedza was not to see Vice President Chiwenga because he doesn't live there. He lives in Harare. If I wanted to see him, I would go to see him to his house. I know where he stays. So they asked me when was the last time I spoke to him one-on-one. I said I met him at the funeral of my sister, my late sister who passed away, who lived in the Marondera farming area around March this year. That's where I last met him, but there were so many people there, I didn't have a moment to speak with him, just the two of us. The last time I remember speaking to him directly, I last spoke to him at our father's funeral, I think a year and a half ago, and also I last spoke to him on the phone, I think some 8 months ago, where he was going to Mashingo and he said he was going to call me. He was busy. He didn't call me back. That was the last time. So they said, if we want you to speak to him right now, to see him, would you refuse to go and see him? I said, I cannot refuse to see my brother. I would actually want to see him to find out how he was doing. But I've got, so they asked me also another question. They said, would you want to discuss this issue with him and tell him that you don't hate him, probably the things that that he's not happy about were just the media's stretching your words out of context, or would want to iron out these issues with him right now? I said I have no problem with doing that, but I was rushing to Harare. I wanted to catch up with 2:30 so that I could preach to our church that is in the UK via the internet. So I didn't have time to discuss these issues to do with these grievances concerning my messages on that particular day. So they said, if we want to force you to see him, what are you going to do? I said, there is nothing that I can do. I cannot say I would not want to speak to him. You would just be forcing me to speak to him over this matter, but that is not my plan. After an hour of interrogations, questions, and threatenings, then I saw another Toyota Hilux. It was silver in color, coming to the house. It was driven by a man who was wearing a suit, and 4 men came out of that car, among which my elder brother Onesimo was one of them. So when Onesimo came out of that car, I saw my cousin brother Masimba Chiwenga going to meet with him, and that other man whom they called Sergeant, he also came to him, and they spoke privately for what looked to be like 5 minutes. And after that, they came to me, the 3 of them. They came to the car where I was being interrogated. And that sergeant said to the officers that were interrogating me, this is their elder brother, this is the eldest person in the Chiwenga family that we have now. So stop interrogating him, let them speak privately, the 3 of them, and iron out these issues. This is a family matter, and I think they have to deal it as a family. So he suggested that we walk away from the house to a few rocks that were by the edge of my uncle's stand. There was nobody there. There was just some trees. We could sit under a tree and discuss. So he said, go, the 3 of you, as far away from these officers as possible so that they don't hear this matter that you are going to be discussing. And when you come back, come with the resolution on what you have agreed to do regarding this matter. We sat under that tree on some rocks for about an hour again. And while we were discussing, Masimba told Brother Onesimo that the Vice President has sent him to talk to me and iron out these issues and raise these questions. And so since the elder brother has arrived, he is the one who is going to decide how to proceed with this issue. I gave them the response that I had given those officers in the earlier interrogations. I cannot comment and say it is me who posted or who said those words that you heard on a video, which you said the Vice President is in possession of that video. Until I see that video, there are so many videos and text messages that are circulating on WhatsApp, on Facebook, on YouTube, that are reportedly Apostle Chiwenga's videos and text messages. But some of them are not ours. If they are mine, I would tell you that I did say those words. And I'm willing to face the consequences for what I said, because what I say as I preach, I believe I'm speaking what God instructs me to say. So Brother Onesimo said the vice president had also showed him that video, and he was not happy about it. And he had told the vice president that I and the vice president, we are both his younger brothers. He cannot take a side. He told me that he had informed him that it is not prudent, it is not wise for a conclusion to be made regarding this until we discuss this as a family in the presence of the vice president and myself. So he told me that they were conducting a prayer session tomorrow in the house, but that was not the intention, that was not the agenda for the meeting. The meeting was for the service that was going to be conducted the following day, which was Sunday, 21 October. The vice president was not feeling well, and therefore we could not discuss that issue with him at that particular time. Masimba indicated that if the vice president was not indicated that he wanted to rest, then we could have gone into the house and just discussed that issue, but he said he wanted to rest, so we cannot discuss this today. Masimba also indicated that the intelligence officers had said he did not told them that I was a brother to him and to the vice president. They could have dealt with me a long time ago when I arrived. They said I should thank him for, he said, you actually helped him to survive. So when he said that the soldiers and the intelligence officers wanted to do something on me to hurt me for what I said as I preached, I don't know when it was that I said the message that is triggered all these emotions in the vice president. So Masimba, after saying that, my elder brother Onesimo Chiwenga then said, I don't want to hear about that. We have to concentrate on what we are here to do. We are here to do a church service tomorrow, and that is why the vice president is here. Do not touch this young man. Let him go home to Harare. Go and tell the vice president that what I've said is, when Talent brings back Auntie from Harare this coming week, then he will bring me to Harare. I would bring my elder brother Onesimo to Harare, and that we were going to do a meeting with the vice president so that these issues were going to be resolved. That was the basis upon which I was to be released and go home to Harare. He also indicated that Masimba was to tell the soldiers and the intelligence officers that they were not supposed to talk to me since that moment or to touch me, because this is not their business, this is a family business. So Masimba consented to what our elder brother had said to them. So he said, they should release you, you should go. So after we came from that rock where we were seated and discussing about an hour, I think it was around 3 or past 3, few minutes to 3 or few minutes past 3, then I was released. I just got into the car. The soldiers and the intelligence officers did not speak to me. But that gray car then drove ahead of us towards Harare. So we drove and we started to come to Harare. But on our way to Harare, we were again going to pass through my auntie's place in Gumbonjanda, Dendenyori area, in the Jekwa villages, to pick her up and bring her to Harare for a medical checkup, and also so that we can spend time with her, since she is one of the few people that we have now in the family who are our parents. Most of our fathers and uncles are now late. So I brought her to Harare, but as we were driving towards Harare, we passed through our shopping center, which is called Sanganai Shops. The car that I'm talking about, the gray Mazda B250, was parked there, and as we drove past the shopping center, we never stopped. It started to follow us until we arrived at Rusunzwe Shops, Mount St. Mary's area. That's when we looked back and we saw that the car was no longer stalking us. I went to Dendenyore, picked my aunt, and I came back. On Sunday, around 8 p.m., a certain congregant in our church sent a message to me and said, look at the news, the vice president is talking and is talking about you. I then saw this message when the news was already done. I checked on the ZTV. I saw that they were now airing some programs. The time for the news was already over. So I then saw that immediately afterwards, there were so many videos posted on social networks extracted from that TV program, which was aired on our national broadcasting television station, ZBC TV. In that video, Vice President Chiwenga said, there is this one called Talent Muzuva. He is a false prophet. He speaks bad things about Vakuru, the elders. He should stop forthwith. And then the one that was commenting on the background then said, Vice President Chiwenga also castigated, he's warned the prophets who are not preaching love and peace, but they are bent on talking about the deaths of other people and also prophesying about sicknesses and deaths. They should stop doing that. I did not do anything about it. I just told my auntie, we had just arrived home from the service which we were conducting on that particular day on Sunday at our usual place of worship in Harare. My auntie said, just keep quiet about it. Maybe when I go home, I'm going to talk to your uncle and to your elder brother Onesimo, and we are going to find a way to deal with this. What then prompted me today to record this video is that I then saw a tweet. Maybe you can give me my phone. One of my phones is inside there. I want to read that message which was sent yesterday, the other one. A certain person has sent me a message, and this message was extracted from Twitter. The Vice President has got a Twitter account that is known as @VP Chiwenga. And he sent a message at 5 o'clock a.m. yesterday, 22 October 2018. In that message, the Vice President said, and I quote, "There are some who now call themselves prophets. There is this one who is called talent. Let it end today. Let it end here now. We don't have that anywhere. Someone moves around attacking seniors, claiming to be worshiping God. God does not send you to insult others." Now, this message was sent on Twitter by the Vice President of the Republic of Zimbabwe at 5 o'clock a.m. in the morning. When I received this message, I received it today in the morning. I then spoke to my auntie about it. And then auntie says, one of our Mzukuru, who is called George, he called yesterday in the evening and he told my auntie that after the Vice President has made the utterances that he made publicly on the national television station that appeared at the 8 o'clock news on Sunday. After he said those words, he also spoke about me in that event that they were conducting at our home on Sunday. He said, Vice President said, you uncles and you aunties and you, my young brothers, talk to Talent about it. I don't want him to continue to do what he is doing. I don't remember talking about Vice President Chiwenga maybe for the past 30 days. I don't remember talking about him maybe in the past 60 days. The video that the Vice President was talking about, we did it a long time ago, more than 6 months ago. More than 6 months ago. So I don't know the insults that he says I've said about him. After seeing and reading this tweet that he tweeted on his account yesterday, I spoke to my auntie, who is in my house right now, about it. And he told me that our nephew George had also told her on the phone that the Vice President had also made more comments about Talent even after the event had ended. And the elders said we are going to talk about it. So my auntie was saying, if your brother wants the family to deal with this matter, why does he go on social network platforms and discuss this? I was in Wedza, I was at home, he was in the house. He's the one who sent my elder brother to talk to me. The soldiers that they kept me to them, they restricted me, they forced me to answer their questions, they interrogated me, they threatened me, they were working for him. He knew that I was there. If he wanted to talk to me, he could have spoken to me, but he's not talking to me. He's sending a tweet about me. Now, when he said Talent Muzuva on Sunday, I knew he was talking about me, because Muzuva is my father's name, and Guvea is his father's name. And our fathers are brothers, blood brothers, same father. Chiwenga is not his personal name. Chiwenga is a family name. The one who was called Chiwenga is our grandfather. So maybe he was not willing to use the name Chiwenga because he also uses it. But I know that so many people are confused. They do want to know what is happening. And the reason why I'm making this public statement, it is because I feel that my life is in danger, not only because of what he is doing, but most importantly because of what happened to me on Saturday. They took my details. If they want to come to my house, they can come, they can put me to harm, they can touch my house, they can fire at me, they can shoot me, and I will die. The reason why I'm recording this and making this statement, it is because I want the people of Zimbabwe who care about me, who are being blessed by the messages that I preach and those that I preach with. I want those that are believers in the gospel because of the ministry that I've held since I began this work some 7 years ago, that are all over the world. Our congregation, our people that are in South Africa, that are in Nigeria, that are in Rwanda, that are in Zambia, Botswana, Namibia, Australia, Canada, USA. I want them to know what is happening to me. First of all, I want to say this to Vice President Chiwenga, and I know he shall watch this video. I'm not trying to pick up a fight with him. I don't think I can fight with him. He's way, way more powerful than I am. He is the Vice President of this country. He is a long-serving commander of the Defense Forces. He is our respected war veteran, and we respect him for that. And above all, he's a cousin brother to me. If he says he doesn't know me, he will be lying. I've met with him more than twice, more than thrice in my life. I've spoken to him even over the phone. Even his wife, she knows us, me and my wife. We have gone to see her in her offices because this is a family issue. But if I feel that my life is in danger and the life of my wife and children, it is in danger, I cannot keep silent while the Vice President uses all the resources that are at his disposal. The national broadcaster, Zimbabwe Television, ZBC TV, uses their resources to publish the statement that was made about me by Vice President Chiwenga. I think it is important for me to respond. I would not have responded if the Vice President had not tweeted, because my auntie had said this is a family matter. We were going to discuss it at home as a family. We don't need to bring the whole nation or the whole world into the affairs of the family. But the Vice President is aggrieved. Maybe he didn't sleep at all. He woke up at 5, he sent a tweet. Now, I want you to know the rest of Zimbabwe, the rest of the world, Vice President Chiwenga, and all those that work for him. I feel that my rights were violated on Saturday. according to section 61, subsection 1A of the Constitution of Zimbabwe, it says every person has the right to freedom of expression, which includes freedom to seek, receive, and communicate ideas and other information. In subsection 5A of section 61 of the Constitution of Zimbabwe says, freedom of expression and freedom of media exclude advocacy of hatred or hate speech. If I did violate the law and I used hate speech towards the vice president, as an aggrieved citizen, he could have used the law. He could have approached the police. If I violated the law, I'm willing to be arrested. If I violated the law, I'm a criminal. I've got to face justice. Why don't they send police officers to arrest me? Let me face the magistrates. Let me face the high court judges. Let me face the judge who would declare me guilty or innocent of contravening the law. I've got a right to express not only my views, but as a preacher, I've got a right, I've got a mandate to declare what God says. I stand with what I said about Vice President Chiwenga. I believe that he's not fit to lead this country. But I've never said it in a way that incites people not to vote for him, because I'm not a politician. He was appointed to be a vice president. And he is our vice president. He is my vice president even up to this day. I love him because he is my brother. But I don't believe that being a brother to him must silence me, must gag me, must censor me from airing my views. If he wanted to know why I said so, he could have just summoned me. I could meet with him and discuss it. If he wanted to know what is God's message regarding him as a vice president, he could have given me the opportunity to meet with him and discuss it. I am a very, very young man. I cannot challenge him when it comes to physical issues of this life. He is an elderly brother to me. I was born in 1985, 5 years after he had come back from war. And therefore, I cannot speak anything that may derogate him or speak evil about him. He is an elder. But he must also understand that as young as I am, I serve the God of heaven. And when it comes to my office as an apostle, my age in my life, in my body, no longer matters. I speak for the God of heaven. And the God of heaven challenges, he corrects people, and he rebukes people who he wants to correct. And if he chooses to use me to correct Vice President Chiwenga, and Vice President Chiwenga believes that because he's there, he has got all these credentials that make people respect him, revere him, and some fear him. He thinks that I can also fear him, and therefore I should not speak the mind of God. Then I think Vice President Chiwenga is sadly mistaken. I don't fear him. I respect him as a brother. I speak what God instructs me to say. I am willing to die for what I say. As a preacher of the gospel, I know the consequences that Jesus said are going to, the ministers of the gospel are going to encounter those consequences. Some of the preachers that preceded me, they were killed for this gospel. Some of them were imprisoned. Now, the Bible in the book of Leviticus chapter 19 verse 17, I'm going to read those scriptures. Leviticus chapter 19 verse 17, it says, "Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor, and not suffer sin upon him." The Bible is saying if you do not rebuke your brother, your neighbor, you are suffering sin upon him. And God was exhorting and forbidding Israel from just watching people walk away from God, blaspheme God, and do things that violate the principles that God has set us, that we live by them because we fear them. God is instructing people that they should fear God, and in that regard, they are supposed to rebuke those that require the rebuke. Proverbs chapter 9 verse 8 says, "Reprove not a scorner, lest he hate thee. Rebuke a wise man, and he will love thee." If you are a wise person and you are rebuked, then you have to love the person that is rebuking you. Proverbs chapter 24, verse number 24 to 25. He that saith unto the wicked, thou art righteous, him shall the people curse, nations shall abhor him. But to them that rebuke him shall be delight, and a good blessing shall come upon them. I will repeat again, Proverbs 24, verse 24 to 25. He that saith unto the wicked, thou art righteous, him shall the people curse, nations shall abhor him. But to them that rebuke him shall be delight. If you say to a wicked man, you are righteous, the Bible says you shall be cursed by God and the people, and nations shall curse you. If a person is found doing something wrong, and you say he's doing something good because you fear him or you want money from him, you are cursed. So when people that are in government are on the wrong side of the principles of God, it is the duty of the true church of God to rebuke the leaders of the world, including Vice President Chiwenga. It is unfortunate that my cousin brother believes that he cannot be rebuked because he has become so powerful in this country. And therefore, I am wrong at rebuking them. I said in one of my sermons, it is foolish for the president and his government to hire a chartered plane for Mai Mugabe to come and mourn for her deceased mother, while the nation is losing precious lives to cholera because of lack of resources to provide clean water to the citizens of Zimbabwe. And I think I have not wronged them in saying that it is foolish, because I believe it is foolish. And if I'm going to die for saying that, I'm going to die a happy man. I also said that our government is complicit in the death of the 7 people who were shot dead by the army just after the results of the elections we have just conducted on the 31st of July this year. And the government has not acknowledged their mistakes. The vice president, we are talking about Vice President Chiwenga, he blamed the opposition party for the death of those people. But the opposition party was not holding guns. It is the army that was holding guns. The United Nations does not allow any government to fire live ammunition against unarmed civilians. And it is a foolish act, and I condemned it because it ought to be condemned. If this is the hate speech that he says Talent Chiwenga is using hate speech against the elders, if I deserve to be sent to jail for what I've said, I am here making this statement freely and willingly. Let him kill me. Let him send soldiers to kill me. I'm ready to die. But please, the reason why I'm making this statement is I want him and those that work for him not to touch my family. This matter is about me and what I preach. My family should not pay for what I do. The vice president has got a bone of contention with Talent Chiwenga. My wife and children are not part of this issue. I want to beg you, Vice President Chiwenga, not to do anything to my family. If you want to kill me, I've served God with a clear conscience, with a pure conscience. And I believe that I have not perverted the doctrine of Christ. I believe that I've served God to his satisfaction. So many lives have been brought back to Christ because of the ministry that I received from Christ. And I'm happy for having served God in that capacity. It is a great honor to serve God as a preacher of the gospel. There is no job under the sun that is so important than preaching the word. I am ready to die any day, any time for the word that I preach. Now, Vice President Chiwenga, in his message which he sent on Twitter, which is also agreeable to what he said on Zimbabwe television station on Sunday, he says, God does not send you to insult others. I don't think Vice President Chiwenga can comment on what God sends people to do and not do. Because Vice President Chiwenga is not saved, he is not born again. He doesn't know the true gospel. If he knew the true gospel, he could not have called the Roman Catholic priests to conduct a service in our rural home for whatever reasons that are known to him. According to the word of God, there are no longer priests in the New Testament. We only have one priest, Vice President Chiwenga said, and that priest is Jesus Christ. I'm going to read the book of Hebrews chapter 10 and Hebrews chapter 7. And I'm sure those scriptures are going to tell us whether we are going to have priests in this day and age or we are not going to have priests. Hebrews chapter 10, verse number 11. And every priest standeth daily, ministering and offering oftentimes the same sacrifices, which can never take away sins. But this man, after he had offered one sacrifice for sins forever, sat down on the right hand of God. So the priesthood of Levi, which had so many priests in the old covenant, it was a prophecy of the priesthood of Christ in the order of Melchizedek. Hebrews chapter 7, verse number 22. By so much was Jesus made a surety of a better testament. And they truly were many priests, because they were not suffered to continue by reason of death. But this man, is talking about Jesus, because he continueth forever, has an unchangeable priesthood. That is why Vice President Chiwenga say, you find out from the book of Acts chapter 1, where the Holy Spirit descended upon the first believers of Christ, to the book of Revelation chapter 22. You don't find a priest in the Church of Jesus Christ. We have apostles, we have pastors, we have teachers, we have evangelists, perhaps we have prophets in the New Testament. But there are no priests in the New Testament. There is only one priest, and his name is Jesus Christ. So, if you think that I will stop preaching the gospel because you are threatening my life, I'm sure this video is going to tell you that you are mistaken. I shall continue to preach the gospel until the day that I die. I'm saying this statement because perhaps this is the last statement that I'm going to make in my life. And I want the people of Zimbabwe and the people of the world to know that Apostle Chiwenga does not have a problem with Vice President Chiwenga. It is Vice President Chiwenga who has a problem with Apostle Chiwenga. When I say something that God asks me to say as I preach the gospel, and if you are aggrieved, you believe that maybe I'm not preaching in the right way, why don't you come? Why don't you invite me? Let us have a round table meeting. We open scriptures like what I'm doing today. Vice President Chiwenga says, a preacher must preach about peace and love. There is no greater love, my brother, than somebody who comes to you and shows you the true way of salvation, like what I'm doing. The Roman Catholic priests are not preaching to you the way of life. They are blindfolding you into believing that you are saved when you are not, until you hear the word that will show you that only Jesus Christ can stand for your sins before God, and not a Roman Catholic priest. That is the day you are to be saved. I pray that maybe this message is going to descend in your heart, and God shall open your heart and convict you to true salvation. The state and the church have never been close friends. The state has always been at loggerheads with the church. I'm talking about the true church of Jesus Christ. When you see the church going to bed with the state, that will be an abomination. That will not be the true church of Jesus Christ. If the church was in good books with the state, Jesus could not have been crucified. John the Baptist could not have been beheaded. Apostle Paul could not have been beheaded, because he was preaching a gospel. The government and its people was provoked. They thought that they were being challenged by the gospel, but no, the gospel is not challenging you. The gospel is coming to convict you that you are a sinner, even though you are a vice president. You need salvation, and you need to hear the true gospel, and there's no true gospel in the Roman Catholic Church. And when I say Roman Catholic Church is a cult, it is an abomination. If you want to know why I say so, then let us open the Bible. Let us open scriptures. Let us not hail insults at one another in the public spectacle. I think it is a disgrace that the vice president uses the time that he has to write a tweet on Twitter about a young brother, a young boy who does not match him, who is not even at his level as far as politics, as far as national administration is concerned, for him to send a tweet at 5 o'clock a.m. in the morning. Now, let me read the book of Luke chapter 11, verse 37 to 44. And we are going to read these scriptures to find out if the way I preach is the true way of preaching the gospel. Vice President Chiwenga feels offended because of my method of preaching. But my method of preaching is biblical, say. You don't know it because you are not yet saved. The Roman Catholic priests that you spend your days with, they don't know about it either because they too are not yet saved. Luke chapter 11, verse number 37. It says, and I read, and as he spake, he's talking about Jesus, a certain Pharisee besought him to dine with him, and he went in and sat down to eat. And when the Pharisee saw it, he marveled that he had not first washed before dinner. And the Lord said unto him, now do you Pharisees make clean the outside of the cup and the plate, but your inward part is full of ravening and wickedness. You fools, did not he that made that which is without make that which is within also? But rather give alms of such things as you have, and behold, all things are clean unto you. But woe unto you, Pharisees, for you tithe mint and rue and all manner of herbs, and pass over judgment and the love of God. These ought ye to have done, and not to leave the other undone. Woe unto you, Pharisees, for you love the uppermost seats in the synagogues and greetings in the markets. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you are as graves which appear not, and the men that walk over them are not aware of them. Maybe you've never read about this scripture, say, but in this scripture, Jesus called the Pharisees fools. Maybe you don't know who the Pharisees and the scribes are. They were the leaders of the church of that day, like the Roman Catholic bishops, the Roman Catholic priests, and the pastors and the bishops and the false apostles that were in his day. He called them fools. He also said they are cursed. He said unto them, woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites. He also labeled them hypocrites. Maybe you don't like it, but this is the Jesus of the Bible, the God that you are talking about, who does not hardly rebuke people when they are wrong. That is not the God of the Bible. That is a God that is made by people who are stubborn and arrogant and who are proud. Because of their positions that they have in the nations, they believe that they are now above even rebuke and reproach from God. That is not true, say. 1 Corinthians chapter 15 from verse 35, Apostle Paul, one of the greatest apostles ever to live under the sun, is this to say, in verse number 35, he was writing this episode, the Corinthian church, he says, and I quote, but some men will say, how are the dead raised up, and with what body do they come? Verse 36, it says, thou fool, that which thou sowest is not quickened except it die. According to the scripture, a pastor, a preacher of the true gospel of Christ, an apostle like myself, if God allows him, he can call people fools if God instructs him to say so, because they behaved foolishly in whatever they are doing. And when we read 1 Samuel chapter 13, verse number 10, 1 Samuel chapter 13, verse number 10, this is now Samuel, the prophet of God. He was talking to Saul, the king of Israel. So this is a pastor with the president of the nation. This is a preacher of the gospel and a leader of the nation, like it is Apostle Chiwenga and Vice President Chiwenga. Let us hear how this discussion goes. Verse number 10, 1 Samuel chapter 13. And it came to pass that as soon as he had made an end of offering the burnt offering, behold, Samuel, the man of God, came, and Saul went out to meet him, that he might salute him. It is Saul, the king of the nation, who was going to salute the prophet of God. But in today's world, the presidents want to be saluted by the men of God because of this problem that we have today. And Samuel said, what hast thou done? And Saul the king said, because I saw that the people were scattered from me, and that thou comest not within the days appointed, and that the Philistines gathered themselves together at Michmash, therefore said I, the Philistines will come down now upon me to Gilgal, and I have not made supplication unto the Lord. I forced myself therefore, and offered a burnt offering. Verse 13, and Samuel said to Saul, thou hast done foolishly, thou hast not kept the commandment of the Lord thy God, which he commanded thee, for now would the Lord have established thy kingdom upon Israel forever. Now, You are saying people that God does not send people to insult others. Maybe King Saul would say the same words that you have said, say about me. But here we are, in the Bible, we have the king being called a fool by the pastor, the prophet of God. His name is Samuel. When you read chapter 13 of 1 Samuel, you will not hear Saul the king responding to what Samuel said and said, why are you calling me a fool? Do you know that I fought for this country? Do you know that I'm the president of this country? This is nothing to do with your position. This is something to do with God, the God of heaven. He is above your position, say, and the God of heaven is the one who has sent me to preach the true gospel in Zimbabwe, so that the people of Zimbabwe may know the truth. We have had a very big problem in this country where the so-called church, not being the true church of God, goes to attend rallies for political parties and government leaders so that they can ratify the things that they are doing, so that they may get money at the end of the day. I am not preaching so that I may get money, because the vice president on Sunday said, I'm sure, say, if you look at me properly, you will see that if I was looking for money, there is no way I could be preaching the way I do. There are people who are looking for money and they were close to you. The priests that conducted the service with you on Sunday are the ones who are looking for money, because I'm sure they got something from you for doing what they did with you on Sunday. The reason why I was not there, it is because of this issue. You think I'm your enemy. I'm not your enemy. The only thing I'm seeking is so that people may hear the true gospel of God, and you are included. You need to hear the true gospel. I am not a prophet, say, I am a prophet. I'm a prophet in the sense that I declare the gospel of Christ. Because Revelation chapter 19 says the testimony of Jesus Christ is the spirit of prophecy. I am an apostle, that is my capacity. And an apostle is allowed to say the mind of God. He can give prophecies like Paul did in Acts chapter 27. He said this ship is going to capsize. It is going to be broken. He said that prophecy, and those that were in that ship, the masters of the ship, they said, you are a fool. How do you give a prophecy concerning the breaking of the ship? But it happened. The ship eventually broke. I think the reason why the vice president is angry at me today when I said those words more than 6 months ago, it is because of the prophecy that I gave. Viewers all over the world and people of Zimbabwe, you can go on the social networks. I gave 2 prophecies. The first prophecy was concerning Adonijah and Joab. The second prophecy was that I saw 2 coffins, and those coffins contained leaders of this country. But the vice president is not feeling well. I never said I saw the vice president in one of those coffins. I simply said I saw 2 coffins. I saw the death of leaders in our country. One is dying and another is going to die. I still stand with that prophecy, say, I will not apologize for speaking what I saw. I saw those 2 coffins, but I never said you are one of the people that are going to die. If there are other men of God who said I was talking about you, maybe they are wrong. They're just trying to incense you into doing something that is unfortunate to a man who has never meant any harm to you. I'm an ordinary Zimbabwean, and I'm a preacher of the gospel of Christ. When I gave those prophecies, I was not talking about you. I never mentioned your name. Maybe it is because of that issue that the vice president continues to say a prophet named called talent, a prophet called talent. I don't find it good. I don't find it a moment of happiness to see a vice president for 2 or 3 consecutive days appearing on public and talking about the name of a person in this manner. Maybe you are not planning to kill me. Maybe you are not planning to put me to harm. But as a leader in the nation, if you say these words, there are people who work for you. You command a very big group of people. You are the leader of the nation. And if people hear you speaking about my name all the time, who knows? One may come one day and shoot me to please you. Because apparently people are going to see that the vice president is not happy and there's somebody who is causing him sleepless nights. Because at 5 a.m., he sends a tweet talking about the same man whom he has spoken about 2 days ago. I don't think this is a good thing. I'm afraid right now to walk into a supermarket and buy some groceries for my family because of these utterances that are made by the Vice President of Zimbabwe. I don't think it is wise for him to continue doing this. If he wants me to be arrested for what I preach, then let the Lord take its full course on me. If he wants to bring me so that I can speak to him on this matter, like what we had resolved on Saturday, he could have left it for the family to deal with this, unlike what he has done to go on the public media talking about Talent Chiwenga. I'm going to read 3 scriptures finally so that I can finalize my statement. Jeremiah chapter 32, verse number 1 to 5. Jeremiah chapter 32, verse number 1 to 5. The word that came to Jeremiah from the Lord in the 10th year of Zedekiah, king of Judah, which was the 18th year of Nebuchadnezzar. For then the king of Babylon's army besieged Jerusalem, and Jeremiah the prophet was shut up in the court of the prison which was in the king of Judah's house. For Zedekiah king of Judah had shut him up, saying, Why therefore dost thou prophesy and say, Thus saith the Lord, Behold, I will give this city into the hand of the king of Babylon, and he shall take it. And Zedekiah king of Judah shall not escape out of the hand of the Chaldeans, but shall surely be delivered in the hand of the king of Babylon, and shall speak with him mouth to mouth, and his eyes shall behold his eyes. And he shall lead Zedekiah to Babylon, and there shall he be until I visit him, saith the Lord. Though you fight with the Chaldeans, you shall not prosper. According to Jeremiah 32, Jeremiah was put in prison by King Zedekiah, because Jeremiah had prophesied that Zedekiah was going to be a captive in Babylon. He didn't like the prophecy, so he said, Jeremiah, you are a false prophet. I want to put you in prison. But did Zedekiah not go to Babylon? He eventually went to Babylon, just like the man of God had said. You cannot say I'm a false prophet because I said I saw 2 coffins. I never gave a timeline for that prophecy. If the 2 coffins are going to happen, they are going to happen, despite your disapproval of that prophecy. When God speaks, he's not seeking the approval of men, say. Mr. Vice President Chiwenga say, I'm appealing to you that this is not good. There are people who may put me to harm because of what you are doing. I'm just an ordinary Zimbabwean and you are the Vice President of the country. I believe there are so many things that you could be attending to than to waste your valuable time in the time of the state to talk about a young boy just like I am. Jeremiah gave a prophecy and he was put in prison because the king did not like his prophecy. I think this is my situation. Say, I think you don't like the way I preach, but you cannot say God does not send people to do this because you don't know anything about God. You are a novice, say, when it comes to things to do with the gospel. We respect you as our vice president, but respect me as an apostle of Jesus Christ, because I can educate you concerning the gospel of God. You cannot educate me, you cannot teach me anything about the Bible. In 1 Samuel chapter 22, verse 18, I'm reading these scriptures because I want people to know what is happening here, because maybe this is the last chance that I have to have in a moment to speak to the people of Zimbabwe and the rest of the world concerning my faith. Apparently because I'm living at the mercy of the vice president. 1 Samuel chapter 22, verse 18, And the king said to Doeg, Turn thou and fall upon the priests. And Doeg the Edomite turned, and he fell upon the priests and slew on that day 85 persons that did wear a linen ephod. 85 priests were once killed by a politician in this life. And those priests were the family of Ahimelech, the priest of God. Why was Ahimelech and the priest killed by King Saul? It was because King Saul did not like what Ahimelech had done to David, because Ahimelech had given Goliath's sword to David and food from the holy temple. And because of what he had done, Ahimelech was killed. And Doeg is the man who did this dirty job. In the history of Israel, it was taboo for a man to lay their hands on a priest who wears a linen or an ephod. But Saul, because of his wickedness, he killed 85 priests in one day. In 2 Chronicles, chapter number 24, verse 18, there is also something that happened there that is very important. I think it is important to me because I feel that I am in the place of these men that I'm talking about who died for the testimony of Christ. 2 Chronicles chapter 24, verse 18, and they left the house of the Lord God their fathers and served groves and idols, and wrath came upon Judah and Jerusalem for this their trespass. So this was Judah in the days of the tenure of Joash, the king of Judah. The people of Judah, they forsook God and they began to worship idols and groves. And God was angry and he punished them for their trespass. Yet he sent prophets to them to bring them again unto the Lord. And they testified against them, but they would not give ear. And the Spirit of God came upon Zechariah the son of Jehoiada, the priest, which stood above the people, and said unto them, Therefore said God, why transgress ye the commandments of the Lord, that you cannot prosper? Because you have forsaken the Lord, he hath also forsaken you. And they conspired against him, and stoned him with stones at the commandment of the king in the court of the house of the Lord. And Jesus talked about this Zechariah because he was martyred for the testimony of Christ that he gave. Let us hear what happens in Luke chapter 11. We are going to hear about Jesus. He says in verse 49, Luke chapter 11, Therefore also said the wisdom of God, I will send them prophets and apostles, and some of them they shall kill and persecute, that the blood of all the prophets which was shed from the foundation of the world may be required of this generation. From the blood of Abel unto the blood of Zacharias, which perished between the altar and the temple, verily I say unto you, it shall be required of this generation. Zachariah was killed in the court of the church because of the people that were given such a charge by King Joash, who was serving as a king over Judah in the day. I feel that maybe it is time that the Lord has determined that I've done the work that he wanted me to do, and therefore he wants me to no longer be a minister. My time to die has come. I want you to know, the people of Zimbabwe and all over the world, that I, Talent Faraj Chiwenga, I am not afraid to die. I am willing to die for the testimony of God. I will not apologize for everything that I said as I preach, whether I mentioned the name of apostle or pastors or preachers or prophets, or I mentioned the name of President Mnangagwa and Vice President Chiwenga or anybody else. These people, I've mentioned their names as I preached because the Spirit of God moved me to do so. If I have to die for the word that I've preached, I am willing to do so. I am willing to die. My only request, my only plea to Vice President Chiwenga is, do not hate innocent people because you have a grievance against me. Do not hate people of our ministry. Do not hate my wife, your sister-in-law, and your nephews. My children are your nephews. Because of our relationship, say, why don't we deal with this matter in a family manner, in a peaceful manner, in a private manner? I could not have done this public statement. I could not have tweeted yesterday, because what we did on Sunday, I felt maybe you were angry. But since I saw this tweet, which you sent at 5 o'clock a.m. yesterday, I now fear for the lives of my children, my wife, and those that I work with. If I die today, people of the world, I want you to know this is the reason why I am going to die. The Vice President has so many resources at his disposal. I may die through an accident. I may be shot dead. I may be poisoned. I may disappear like Itai Dzamara disappeared. I'm not saying the vice president is the one behind the disappearance of Itai Dzamara. I'm simply mentioning the name of Itai Dzamara because he also disappeared because he criticized a government that feels that it is invincible, it is unquestionable to the people that it governs. I don't believe that should be the case, say. This is a democratic country, and you have also been on record insulting other people, insulting other politicians, and nobody said anything about it because maybe they were afraid of you. I'm not insulting you. I'm mentioning your name today because you've mentioned mine more than 2 times now in 4 consecutive days. I feel that my life is in danger. I was incarcerated in the custody of your soldiers and your military intelligence personnel on Saturday. You had instructed them to do so, and up to this day, nobody has spoken to me about it. If I wanted to leave, I could have left if they had not put me under some form of kidnapping or capture or restriction. I was forced to answer questions that I was not willing to answer at your instruction. I was threatened that I may disappear at your instruction. 2 of my brothers spoke to me and they released me because they said they were going to speak to you about it, that we were going to have a family meeting to discuss this issue. It is unfortunate that maybe to you a family meeting is not enough. You want to humiliate me in public. I am not going to humiliate you. I'm simply going to ask you that this is not necessary. I don't think I'm at a level where I can have a fight with you. We can discuss this. My appeal to President Emmerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa at this moment, I appeal to you, say that maybe you need to hear this video, to see this video, and to see that we have a crisis in this country. The Vice President, who is your subordinate, has got an issue with a small boy. I'm very young. I just preach the gospel. I'm not a politician. I'm not a member of any political party. I'm just a preacher of the gospel. What happened to me, say, is very unfortunate. I could have filed a report to the police that I was kept under duress. I was forced, I was interrogated without my consent on Saturday by the soldiers who were mounting guard and protecting the Vice President at our rural home in Wedza. And I could have done that. But I know the police are way so much in a tight situation because the Vice President is their superior. And I feel maybe they will say, go and put an official report to Wedza police station because this event happened in Wedza. But I cannot go to Wedza now. I am afraid that one thing may happen to me. I don't travel alone because I'm a public figure now, and I face these threats to my life every day. I have people who save me. That is their ministry in the work of God, in the work of the gospel. So whenever I'm traveling, I've got a team of people that I travel with. If I go to Wedza now, who knows what happens to me, and who knows what may happen to other innocent people who may just die because they believe in the gospel of Jesus Christ. I appeal to you, President Mnangagwa, to find a way to deal with this matter. This is no longer a private family issue. This is now a crisis that involves a preacher who is so spoken about in such a demeaning manner by your Vice President, who is also my cousin brother. I am not afraid to die, my brethren, and I will continue to say this, and I want you to be very clear on this matter. If I die today, I die a happy man. My prayer to God today concerning Vice President Chiwenga is that he may touch his heart, maybe after I'm gone, to repentance. Because when I die, I'm not going to disappear. I've already been saved. And when you're a child of God, you will never die. There's a better place than this world. So I don't have a problem with dying. But I'm sure if the Vice President is to die today, he will be in trouble because he has not yet tested the true gospel of Christ. And may God give him more life so that he may hear the true gospel before he leaves this world. Because eventually we are all going to die. It only differs how one dies. But death is inevitable. Somebody says there's nothing as sure as death. So I'm not afraid of dying. I implore you, Mr. Vice President, say that this issue has nothing to do with other preachers that I work with. It has nothing to do with my family. it has got an issue to do with me and my method of preaching. I am not going to apologize for saying what I said, which I believe that God had instructed me to say it. I can defend myself. I can open scriptures and tell you that no, say contrary to your assertion that God does not send one to insult others. I can say you were not insulted, you were rebuked, but because you don't believe that you can be rebuked, you believe because of the people that surround you, you are above rebuke. You believe that because I am younger than you, because I am a small young brother, because I'm just an ordinary preacher, I'm not a politician, I'm not a military man, I'm not a national hero like you are. Therefore, I just have to do what everybody is doing, to worship you, to bow down at you, to sing praises unto you like court jesters. No, sir, I'm not like one of those people. I am a man on a mission to preach the world to the world, the true gospel of Christ that can bring them to true salvation. And you may be saved. Jeremiah was put in prison for the gospel. Ahimelech was put to death for the gospel. Zechariah was put to death for the gospel. Apostle Paul, Apostle Peter, Apostle James, they were killed for their gospel. If I am going to die for the gospel, I will die a happy man, say. I don't have regrets, and I don't hate you for that. I know Judge Jesus will come, and he will vindicate me on that last day. And you will see on that particular day that there is a greater authority than the office that you hold today. We have received messages. Pastor Marangi, can you give me that message? We are receiving threats from different people. But because my other phone has just died, its battery has died, I want you to hear one of the messages that was sent to us. This person has got a number, and I shall give you that number. He says, people like me will not wait for my seniors to descend on you. We will face you and trade whatever is at our disposal, verbal or legal missiles. He says, we will fight your immoral and satanic tendencies, not your physical self. So this guy, he calls himself Katongo, and this, his number is 0717 622 062. This is just of the few threats that we have received in the past 2 days. This guy, he calls himself Katongo, and we have given you his number. He says he will not wait for his seniors to descend on me. Who are his seniors? Are his seniors Vice President Chiwenga? Are his seniors the leaders that are in the army or in the intelligence services? I don't know. But some people called me and said, why don't you run away, run to another country, seek asylum, maybe with the US embassy or other embassies? And I said, no, that is not me. I don't believe I can run away from Christ. My assignment is in Zimbabwe. Let me preach the gospel in Zimbabwe, and let me die for the gospel in Zimbabwe. I am not a man who is good at running away from situations. When I started to preach, I knew that I was going to be required to face consequences of what I do, or for what I do as I preach. And if dying is one of those consequences, like I said earlier on, I am willing to die. I don't think those that look at me right now, they can say they are seeing a man who is afraid. I'm not afraid to die. I will not run away. I will not seek asylum with the United States Embassy or any embassy here in Harare. I want the people of Zimbabwe to just know, if I happen to wake up dead tomorrow, the reason why I am dying. So this is the issue, my brethren. People of the world and the people of Zimbabwe, maybe this is the last time you shall hear me. Thank you so much for listening to our messages like you have been for all this while. Thank you and have a good day.